Come join Kyle, John and David as they go through what's on the playlist. Find out what's everyone's favourite at Chicken Soup for the Soul Entertainment. We have a few segments, to be honest. In and out points, no celebs and the gossip. Back in time where we're talking about the big M's, coming attractions, what the cue. Quick checks, who'll be laughing? You abundantly. Welcome to Dual Redundancy.
Yes, welcome to Dual Redundancy, the only podcast we carry all latest in television, entertainment news with too many else with exactly the same opinions. I'm one of those hosts, David Allen, and another one is
John Berwick, and the third one is
Kyle Bridger. I would say that I am Ken to John's Ken to Dave's. He's just Alan.
Of course, Alan. I am just Alan. Yep, I saw that coming. No one's Oppenheimer, the destroyer of worlds here. No one. No. Well, yeah, we're gonna be talking about Ken's. We're gonna be talking about Alan's. We're gonna be talking about Barbie. That's the big one. We're gonna be talking about Barbie. We're gonna be talking about Oppenheimer because finally, what the world's been waiting for. That 2 weeks ago, or actually, was it 3 weeks ago? Whatever it was, Barbenheimer happened, and everyone's like, what does Dual Redundancy have to think? I can't wait. I won't listen to a single other Barbenheimer podcast until this one is out. Yep. The wait is over. It's finally time. We will be talking about both those two films. Plus this first segment. John, what is it?
In and Out Points.
In or out.
Yes, it is In and Out Points. Now, this year, we saw HBO Max become Max, and soon we're going to see it have the addition of sports and news. According to Warner Brothers Discovery CEO and everyone's favorite, David Zaslav, sports and news programming may be coming soon to Max. These categories, quote, are important. They're differentiators. They're compelling. They make these platforms come alive. If you're on an SVOD platform and something is going on in the world and you can see it, it makes that platform really alive. So you will hear from us on that soon. All right. Sports news coming to Max. Thoughts on this, Kyle, our resident sports expert? Are you excited to watch some sports on Max?
I've been saying it previously. It's just all these streaming services are trying to get sports. They're trying to get live sports. That's better for ads, and they need to make more money, so they need to sell more ads. So it makes total sense. It's just going to be a gamble because some of these streaming services are going to sports that are not really so popular, but trying to bet and hope that something like probably pickleball is probably going to be like something,
Everyone loves the pickleball.
They're throwing more spaghetti at the wall to see if it sticks.
Yeah.
But
as far as the news, it's I think news anywhere doesn't make any money. So what this just looks like to me is we've transferred everything on cable, on a hard wire, and now we're on the internet side of it where everyone's got their local cable channels, but all bundled,
Yeah. If only there was a way to maybe have our own little service that has exactly what you want, that's separate from everything else. And but that sounds like a dream, or maybe it was the past. I don't know at this point, but yeah. So the company currently has digital rights to sports content, but the task of migrating broadcast from linear to streaming is going to be tricky because, there's carriage fees involved with all this. Warner Brothers charges these, pay TV operators for TNT, CNN, all these other networks to be a part of this package. So it's what's the incentive for Dish Network, all those different, services to even have TNT, CNN, all these platforms? It's if all that content and streaming and the sports, the live stuff that I need to see live in the moment is on Max, what? So they're going to have to kind of choose where they want to go, because if they say, no, we don't need you anymore, cable, we don't need you, it's are people going to migrate to Max to watch it? Because if not, you're saying no to, sure, linear TV is on the decline, but it still makes billions of dollars a year with ads.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a tricky line that you're walking if choosing one or the other.
Mm-hmm.
The company's current sports portfolio does include, the NHL, NBA, MLB, the NCAA men's basketball tournament, all that stuff from TNT and stuff like that. But I don't know. Do you see all those, the big ones, Kyle, migrating to Max?
I mean, any way to make it more accessible, and they're trying to make Max into this thing where we have TLC channel and all that, all that other stuff all into one, so it all makes sense. I'm just thinking back to like when I had HBO or HBO Go, would I ever think that I would want this from my service? Like I was fine paying whatever for the service that I had previously. Like I'm not asking it to do more, and now it's all going to get bundled, and now we're going to be paying more.
Yeah.
It's really annoying in that sense, but I could see sports migrating like that. Hulu already kind of has it with their live TV stuff.
Yeah, Apple and Amazon has. I mean, Amazon has Thursday Night Football, right?
Yep, Amazon had it this past year. Yeah. The annoying thing, I just watched some like an MLS thing on Apple, and you want to talk about a setup that is not conducive for viewership. You click on, you're like, I want to watch this soccer match or whatever. So you click on it, and it's not the first thing. The first thing's like, do you want to record this? And then you literally have to scroll all the way down to like, oh, you're a subscriber, you can play this. I'm like, why is it down in the bottom? It's like setting me, it's insane. It's the worst setup, man.
Yeah, sometimes it's just, I think I need people that work on apps to just use the app. Just put yourself in the shoes of a consumer one time and just try to watch any of your content.
The thing is they have people that do that can literally watch how people scroll and what they wait on and stuff like. So it's just insane. It's insanity.
But yeah, you brought up the price of it all, and that's what I'm really worried about is the price for consumers. I mean, when YouTube TV added sports, we saw a huge increase across the board. I mean, ESPN is one of to have that in the cable package. That's the reason why the cable bundle is so much money, because ESPN comes with this giant price tag, when the other channels might be like a fraction of that in your cable bundle if you actually went individually there. And I really worry, are we not going to, I don't think we're going to get tiers of Max. I mean, we, based on the past, I mean, Discovery Plus sure has a standalone right now, but when Max took over all that Discovery Plus content, there wasn't a tier without it. And right now the price has been the same, but I'm sure and soon they're going to raise it because it's like, oh, we gave you more content. We gave you all this free stuff here. Now it's going to cost you. And, when David Zaslav, what was it, last year shut down CNN Plus, he's like, no, we're not doing this standalone service. It's, if anything, maybe CNN Plus should have been in Max to begin with. But then, to go all the way back to my first point, CNN Plus did not have linear streaming CNN on it. So if you wanted CNN Plus to watch CNN, you're not getting CNN. Just like how on ESPN Plus,
insane.
Can you watch the live stream of ESPN on ESPN Plus? No. You can watch clips, you can watch pre-recorded content, but it's like, what are we doing? But yeah, so I just have a feeling it's just going to be costing us. It's really going to be, which is unfortunate, because I don't need sports. I don't need news. I just, give me my Succession and Sopranos and leave it at that.
And that's kind of what I was saying, is when you signed up for HBO, whatever, Go at the time, did you ever envision that you'd have to be like, do I want news or sport? You like new. I just want to watch HBO stuff, Exactly.
But it's not HBO. It's not TV. It's Max. All right. Let's talk about another story. We actually talked about this story 3 years ago on the podcast in episode 302. We spoke about the Stanley Hudson spinoff that Leslie David Baker started a Kickstarter to produce. And after all this time, we have an update. It ain't happening. For the last 3 years, a lot of backers of this Kickstarter have been wondering online where their money actually went to. Was it all just some other shady project like the attempt of Stanley Nickels turning into a cryptocurrency that Baker was working on? But the campaign for Uncle Stan, which collected more than $330,000 from 1,640 backers, is returning the money. Well, $110,000 of it. He noted in his Instagram post that $330,000 was not the full amount received due to backers lowering their pledges or dropping them out completely. So $110,000 is supposedly the final amount they received from Kickstarter. Now, John, what are your thoughts on, everything being returned, or at least seemingly everything being returned? Were you looking forward to the Uncle Stan spinoff? What are your thoughts on all this?
Well, I'm not a donor to this. Not that I don't think it's a good idea, but it's just not something that I feel is, I would want to put some cash into. But I think there's something to say for them returning the money. There are a lot of Kickstarters that either deliver some tiny whimper of a thing and say, oh, we did it, or cancel and kind of try and figure out the least amount of money they can give back to people and stuff like that. So I think there's some commendations to be delivered about actually trying to return the money, and I believe in a comment we'll read in a second, actually trying to fulfill at least some of the goals that they had initially promised. So I don't have an issue with it. You tried, you didn't make it, and now you're trying to make it right. That seems on the up and up to me.
Yeah, I'm glad the money's getting back and I wonder if it's also a little bit of a PR move, because from what I saw, at least maybe on the Office subreddit and some of the other like Twitter or X, that stuff nowadays, where it's like there was a lot of people. It's like, yeah, what happened to this? Did he just take our money? Is this a little shady? Like, so it just kind of like tarnished his reputation a little bit. So it's like, yeah, maybe 3 years later, it's time to give the money back. I'm gonna remind you what the pilot was, and then I'm gonna get Kyle's thoughts on Uncle Stan here. But the pilot, Uncle Stan, was to see Baker reprise his office role as Stanley, who leaves his cushy retirement in Florida when he gets a call from his nephew, Lucky, in Los Angeles, asking for help with his 2 kids and running his motorcycle/flower shop. So that was the pitch of this. What's really interesting here is, well, it's Uncle Stan. It's not Stanley Hudson. I'm sure that was to skirt past the fact he does not own the rights to Stanley Hudson or any of his Office character trademarks and stuff like that. So that might have been another reason why this whole thing didn't work out to begin with. But Kyle, were you looking forward to Uncle Stan?
Gotta be honest, I didn't really know anything about it.
What are you talking about? We talked about it 3 years ago.
I know, but besides that, I didn't really know anything about it. But it's just like, I guess. Stanley was just such a small part of like a huge cast. So it's like he really could have made this a jumping off point for anything if he really wanted to. But honestly, when I saw the headline that he was giving everything back, I was like, this sounds like such a headache that I can't even, I wouldn't have even wanted to collect money in the first place unless it was actually being used, because this sounds like such a pain in the butt.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And sure, it's like making a pilot ain't cheap, but it's also like, is 330 like enough to make anything nowadays? Like, I remember the Always Sunny's guys like made their pilot for $100 back in, I don't know, the 90s at this point, like whenever that was made. Who knows the year on that?
When Charlie Day's just riding around taking shots of Philadelphia in a car.
But at this point, you have an iPhone. You have iMovie on your computer. You can make a pilot. But he said, why didn't it work? Well, quote, the project took longer than anticipated due to circumstances beyond our control. In this article, in the Instagram post, he cited COVID lockdowns, the WGA and SAG strikes, and yes, maybe I'm a little negative here. Those are definitely true things that happen. COVID, the strikes, yes, for sure. But like, you launched this in June of 2020. Yeah. There's been films and TV shows, and they've been up and running and releasing and being made and promoted. And the strikes just happened. Yeah. Like, was that really the reasons why this didn't happen? You're in Honey Nut Cheerio commercials, Stanley. I've seen them. Like, you were making stuff. Like,
he was just waiting for the strike to happen so that he could blame it on something. It's the strike, guys. I can't do it, man.
Also, the Dragon's still going on the strike. Maybe go to London. Maybe instead of leaving Florida to the Los Angeles flower and motorcycle shop, you go to London for that shop and use those actors over there, not in SAG. No, don't do that. But yeah, what is a florist motorcycle shop anyways? Do those two things go together?
I just wonder what piece of the puzzle slotted in with like what's left over from The Office to make someone say, "Oh yeah, motorcycle and flowers. There's so much good content. Like what can we write around this? Like I got so many ideas." I don't know, a little bit weird.
Yeah, I don't know. And that's like he's a character from Scranton in a paper company, retires to Florida, goes to Los Angeles to run a florist and motorcycle shop. Okay. It's a Mad Lib, but whatever. We're not getting it, so it doesn't matter at this point. One last thing we are no longer going to have, and it is involving AMC Theaters. This past February, we discussed AMC's plan of variable ticket pricing called Sightline, which would charge patrons different prices for seats in different spots in the theater. Well, this pilot program is now being phased out. The company noted that while many consumers were willing to pay more for the premium seats, it saw little to no change in the front row seats, which were the lower prices. We've talked at length about this and how AMC was making every wrong decision to bring people back into the theaters. The credit card, selling popcorn on the street, the Zoom meetings you could rent out the theater for, every single wild idea that they had. John, are you sad to see Sightline go?
No, I don't think. I don't know. I don't know if I would even go to those seats if it were free. I mean, there have been a couple pictures posted on Twitter of people watching Oppenheimer from those seats, and Oppenheimer's face being like this big grotesque, like statuesque, like weird blob. And it's like, how is that a movie going experience? Like Christopher Nolan would come and like kick you out of the theater if he saw you sitting there. Like that's not an experience. So either you're desperate and you're gonna pay the money, or you don't want to sit in that seat and you're not gonna pay the money. It doesn't make sense. They should pull it out and they should replace it with either kiosks for 3D glasses, or maybe the assisted listening kiosk, or God forbid, maybe someone selling a couple candy bars or something so they don't have to leave to go get a snack before the movie starts. Like anything but seats at this point. Like you got the space, use it constructively.
For me, I was always just annoyed with like, okay, it's maybe there's a row of 10 and it's like these like 3 in the middle are more expensive, but the 2 next to it that are still in the middle, normal price. And it's like, what makes the decision? Because it's like, 6 inches to my left, that's free. Or not free, but it's like a normal ticket. 6 inches to my right, that's extra money. Like,
they probably have a heat map of tickets sold and determine that those were the most sold tickets of any, and so that's what they did.
Yeah, Kyle, were you a fan of Sightline?
No. Was anybody a fan of this? This stinks.
I guess
this
not.
idea
It was already phased out.
Absolutely stinks. I don't know who thought this was a good idea. Honestly, I remember when the news came out about it, I just thought it would be more of a headache for the employees. It's like, how many people are going to buy at a lower level and then move to an upper seat? Like, I can see that happening, especially if it's not in a packed theater. Like, this sounds like absolutely miserable. And even like when I went and saw Oppenheimer, some dude came in. There was 30 minutes left in the movie. He like slyly came in, and I think she was like watching him because she comes in after. And she's like arguing with this dude in the final 30 minutes. I'm like, dude, what are you doing? But I mean, like this kind of stuff, you're trying to manage seats in a dark theater. It sounds miserable.
Yeah. And John, you mentioned this, like coming up with other ideas to do something with those front row seats. And that's their next plan.
All right.
Quote, beginning in late 2023, AMC will begin testing its newest seating concept, large, comfortable lounge-style seating areas, which will allow guests to lay all the way back and relax. The angle of the seats will also make it more enjoyable to watch movies from these front row seats closest to the screen. I like how it just first of all starts like, you know what? Yeah, like nobody likes the seats here, but we got a new idea. What if the seats were large and comfortable? Whoa! It's like, maybe do that with all your seats. Make them all large and comfortable. That'd be great.
Yeah, but, I don't know. You're still going to have viewing angle issues, in my opinion. But, maybe it's worth it to somebody to take a nap on a comfortable seat instead of in a upright seat, you know?
I will say, I won't say the specific theater online or on the podcast because I like it right now and it's my little secret in the city and not many people know about it. But there's there's a Regal somewhere in the city that has these very nice kind of like reclining seats, and they don't go all the way back. I don't need to be perpendicular with the floor, you know. I don't need something like
pillow
that.
And a blanket, right?
But like, seeing a 3-hour Oppenheimer, you know, it was nice to have the seats back. But the way it would be set up is like you can go back a little bit, and you're not hitting anyone in the back, like with their feet or anything like that. So I like this idea of doing that. And yeah, maybe by reclining a bit, you'll at least be able to see it a little bit better. But you still, when you're in the front row,
yeah,
it's tough to see anything, especially in like IMAX or something like that. I like this better. Yeah, make it more comfortable instead of like just charging people more or less. I think that's a good start.
1923, a Yellowstone origin story starring Academy Award winner Helen Mirren and Academy Award nominee Harrison Ford, introduces a new generation of the Dutton family as they explore the early 20th century when pandemics, historic drought, and the end of Prohibition and the Great Depression all plague the Mountain West, and the Duttons who call it home. This release features all 8 episodes of Season 1, plus over 2 hours of special features, including an extended making-of featurette, a powerful exploration of Teona Rainwater's harrowing journey, and an exclusive sit-down interview with video editor Chad Galster. 1923, a Yellowstone origin story. Available now on DVD and Blu-ray.
All right. We've been talking a little bit about our movie experiences, and we should talk about the 2 big movies. In order to talk about them, we have to go back. Send us back.
We're back, baby.
Gotta get back in time.
All right, we're going to start off with Oppenheimer. Dropped on July 21st. This biographical film, written and directed by Christopher Nolan, tells the story of theoretical physicist J. Robert Oppenheimer from his early studies to the 1954 security hearings and his direction of the Manhattan Project. All right, we all saw Oppenheimer here. Let's start off with John. What did you think of Oppenheimer?
I thought it was really good. I think if I had a critique, it's that it was a little bit long. But that's a Christopher Nolan trademark at this point is just slightly overstaying the welcome of a movie. But yeah, I thought it was good. I thought the special effects really good. I liked they had a very diverse cast of people that I recognize, which was nice. But nobody took me out of the movie saying like, oh, that's somebody else, you know? So that was good. The drama was not hard to follow, which was also good. I feel like stuff like that can really get bogged down with like, you know, names and stuff. But yeah, I overall enjoyed it.
Yeah, you mentioned some Christopher Nolan things there. I mean, obviously, it's not Tenet. It's not forward, backwards, you know, trying to confuse you. It was a little bit more straightforward. We'll talk a little bit later about the black and white and the color of it all. But you also mentioned some of his trademarks. John, what do you think of the sound design? Because we've talked in the past, whether it's Bane in The Dark Knight Rises or just any of his other films, sometimes you don't hear a lot of the dialogue in the films. I think it makes a little more sense when it's maybe during the Trinity test. Yeah, you wouldn't really hear the dialogue, some of it, but like a lot of this other film is actually like conference rooms and trials and stuff like that. Were you happy with the sound design?
Everything except for the voices. I saw Barbie at one night, and then the next morning I saw Oppenheimer, so back to back, and it was very different. Barbie was nice and loud and clear. I could hear everyone. Everything was enunciated. Oppenheimer, maybe not so much. I was still able to follow it. But yeah, just the not legibility, the audibility of people was a little hard. That being said, I think, again, another Christopher Nolan movie where the soundtrack was on point, sound effects was all on point, the sound direction was on point. It's just, it was a little tough to hear people.
Yeah. All right, Kyle, give me your overall thoughts with Oppenheimer here.
I really enjoyed the movie. There was I couldn't believe with the scope of it and how many people like are involved in the telling of the story, that it's like just how he was able to manage to keep it going along. And like, I felt like the music behind the scenes really helped keep the pace of the movie, because this could have been a just trudging through, you know, some thick stuff. So, but overall, the sound editing, I really love the sound editing, especially with that the gymnasium sequence.
Oh yeah, we'll talk about that. Yeah.
I thought there was really cool scenes. The bomb exploding definitely paid off to me. Yeah, there's a lot of good things. I have some cons, but I'll mention them later.
Yeah, there's a lot of things you guys are hitting on. You know, agreeing with one or two things I might pick apart a little bit, but let's talk about the cast, I guess. Huge supporting cast, as Kyle was mentioning. I'll run through a few here. Emily Blunt, Matt Damon, Robert Downey Jr., Florence Pugh, Josh Hartnett, Casey Affleck, Kenneth Branagh, Jason Clarke, Dane DeHaan, Alden Ehrenreich, David Krumholtz, Jack Quaid, Josh Peck. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. It's just, and it's crazy because like a lot of them are in very brief roles, and it just shows how much they want to be involved with this project. And like there was even a point when I knew like Rami Malek was in it, and there was many points where I would see him like in the background, not saying anything, or maybe just like, you know, at a dinner thing, and like it looks like he's about to talk, and then like the scene cuts. I'm like, did they cut Rami Malek out of this movie? And I thought that for a while. I'm like, really? They cut out the Oscar winner? Okay. Yeah. But then there's his moment at the end. He finally, you know, gets some speaking lines at the end of the movie with his big trial moment. But I will also say, good for him. Yeah, I noticed at the end credits he got the with credit, Rami Malek for this, and then it was what was his name? Kenneth Branagh. It's like those two got the last thing, but like a with when you have again Matt Damon, Robert Downey Jr. You know, it's like it's pretty big for him. But I want to jump to Cillian Murphy as J. Robert Oppenheimer. I know you are a fan of Murphy from Peaky Blinders, I believe. Kyle, what did you think of him as Oppenheimer?
Dude, he might be one of my favorite actors. I love Cillian Murphy. I think he's great. In everything he does. I really liked it. I really liked him. I mean, I was sold the whole way. I really like Cillian Murphy. That's my assessment. I mean, the guy is just good.
Yeah, and it's wild because like I'm trying to think of other. I mean, I haven't seen Peaky Blinders, but you know, of course, I've seen him in some Nolan projects here and there, and you know, it's like, you know, from the Nolan projects alone, he has such a range. I mean, from the Scarecrow, quote unquote, from in the Dark Knight trilogy to, you know, his role in Inception and his role here. It's just like there's such a range with his character, and there's so much that he has to do in this with all the different time periods, and
I mean, and just what he does without dialogue, like a lot in his expressions and stuff like that. It's just so well done, and he's got a unique look to him. So he's just a very good actor.
He looks like he could be from that time period. Yeah, for sure. There's been a lot of talk of Robert Downey Jr. With this film. I've seen buzz of a possible Oscar nomination for him. And again, at first I was like, you know, for the first 2/3 of the movie, I was like, he's good, but like, why? Like, what's going on here? And then we get the turn. And I guess this is, if you haven't guessed it, we're going to be spoiling these movies. We're going to be spoiling the movies. But with Strauss here, and you know, him kind of being behind the security hearing, and you kind of selling Oppenheimer down that road, then it kicked in. I'm like, oh yeah, I could see why he might be getting a nomination. You know, it's so good. I feel like to have him back acting. You know, whether it's like, and I they might have been like a dig. Maybe people would have said, oh, well, he wasn't acting in the Iron Man films. I mean, he was, but he wasn't like doing the Oscar nominated Chaplin that he did, or even Tropic Thunder. Like he's doing something different here, and he's back in it. And it was good to see him in a dramatic role with this. Any thoughts on Robert Downey Jr. in the Strauss role?
Oh, he did well.
Yeah. I mean, I think he's really good. But unfortunately, I will say that was my like least favorite part of the movie. That ending there, like that whole like last little hour there, I think was like my least favorite. But I mean, Robert Downey Jr. did great at it. Was great.
Yeah, I do have some like questions like with the Alden Ehrenreich like character with like him, like he's like on his team, but then he realizes he did this stuff, so he's like against him, but he's still on the team. Like it's like this weird like vibe, and there's some stuff with like characters where I felt like it was a little like one note ish, especially even like when it came to like the president, like he goes in there, it was like very like a caricature, is like, you know, I can't remember the exact wording, but like don't bring in like this guy in again. And it was just like, it was very like, I don't know, it just seemed like very villainy, like just because we need that moment there. I think two characters that I feel like were also like sidelined and also kind of like a little bit, you know, they did the best that they could with what they had, but like I feel like Florence Pugh, I mean, it had a very small role. Unfortunately spent most of the film. I mean, for her, she's naked. She's in love scenes. Like that's all she's really doing. And it's like she's such a great actress that she's being, you know, just to do that in this film. And then you have like Emily Blunt, who I thought like had, you know, sure, she has a moment in that hearing, but like also was very like one-dimensional. The wife, it's just like it was very. I mean, Nolan doesn't have the greatest track record if we look at it with female characters. I mean, he just doesn't. If you look at all of his films, they don't have that strong of a, you know, three-dimensional persona, and I think like that's unfortunate here.
It seems
you have
like
these kind of actors.
Yeah, it seems like Emily Blunt was one side of a character and Florence Pugh was the opposite. But it's
if
like
you combine those, then you got one real character.
And I feel bad for Florence Pugh because in the movie they try to. It's supposed to be this moving thing for Oppenheimer that she commits suicide, right?
Yeah.
But like I didn't feel anything for that moment because we had seen so little of her.
Yeah.
But it's more as like a plot device to just see the impact on Oppenheimer.
There's if you look at a lot of Nolan's films, there's always a lot of a wife or a girlfriend character that maybe commits suicide that kind of hurts the male protagonist character. Like that's it's a trope throughout all of his movies. If you look back on it, but so that was, I mean, some unfortunate things I had to say about that. We talked a little bit about like the look and sound of the film. I thought like a lot of the sound design was really cool. The music, as you guys mentioned, was great. I believe that's another. I think he's now with Ludwig. I'm forgetting his last name, but he works with Childish Gambino. He did stuff with The Mandalorian. He's been, ever since Tenet, I think Nolan has moved from Hans Zimmer to Ludwig here. And I will say though, maybe I was a little disappointed with the Trinity test, just a little bit. I don't know. I you know, maybe just because I know he did it all practical. He did it like real. There wasn't special effects. Like maybe I was just expecting a little bit more. Maybe just because I'm used to like action scenes and, you know, even just like the truck flip in Dark Knight, or, you know, the airliner going into the building in Tenet and stuff like that. But obviously it's the music's building, the sound effects are going, and then once it goes off, it is silent. And then we get the, the noise after the fact. What do you think of that choice, John?
I thought it was good. I mean, I don't think at that distance you'd have that much of a gap between a visual and a audible blast. But I mean, it is kind of what you would see in real life. My biggest issue with it was when it happened. I think that the last maybe quarter of the movie could have been scooted up and this pushed back into it, and so we got the trial ending and this explosion closer together, because in my mind everything's been hyping up the test, and then it happened a third, 2/3 of the way into the movie. Like
probably about 2/3.
There was a lot to do after that, and that almost seems like, I know the trial is your high point, but that almost seems like the advertised high point where like you're building to this. And then afterward, you're sitting there and you're like, oh, all right, it's ending soon. But no, you have another like hour to go. So
I definitely agree with that.
That was my biggest complaint about it, is the pacing did not feel correct for such a pivotal moment.
Yeah, and I think, you know, Nolan plays around with times, whether it's like Memento or Dunkirk. He's known to move things around and play around with time. So that could have worked, as you were saying, with that kind of movement there. And, you know, it's wild if you think about it, even like, as you said, like the advertised thing is the explosion. That's what the poster is. That's the moment. That's what he's known for. And it's like, but like Nolan kind of got people to turn out to a 180-minute R-rated movie that's in black and white that has a lot of scenes and, again, conference rooms and the trial. It's like the big moment is a security hearing. It's not even like a prosecution. It was or something in jail. It was like that kind of moment. So I think it's like an interesting choice that he did, where it's, again, it was, this is only, the 2/3 of the way through the movie. The moment I really liked, and I believe Kyle mentioned earlier, was that kind of the rec hall, the gymnasium scene after the explosion. That's where I really felt it there. You know, you see the background shaking, the visions of the audience there suffering, the faint screams, you know, mixed in with the cheering. I thought that was like, because that is when he's finally like, he's realizing, oh crap, like, what did we just do here? Yeah. Like, and I think that was the moment that really sold me versus, you know, like the actual explosion, quote unquote. But yeah. I want to bring up this quote from, I asked on Instagram, you know, what are your thoughts on these movies? And we had What's Up Nikki respond. He said, Oppenheimer's fast pace kept me engaged, and the abrupt cuts to his inner visions of atoms and etc. were fantastic. The use of the sound of the feet on the bleacher before we saw the auditorium scene was thrilling. And again, that was another great sound choice, you know, the whole build up to this scene here. So I want to talk a little bit about, you know, the black and white and color of it all. Did you guys like that choice? Kyle, did you like what they were doing there with the point of views and stuff like that, making color in black and white and stuff like that?
Yeah, I mean, because it's dealing with multiple perspectives, which we all deal with in life, right? So it'd be interesting to see how, you know, Oppenheimer might view it versus what is this subjective view, or how multiple people might have looked on this scenario. And I think even the final little tell at the end where we have the thing with Einstein is, you know, Robert Downey Jr.'s character thought it was one way, and you know, it's a totally different way, and that's goes along with like his ego and all that. So I think it's an interesting way to tell the story for sure.
Yeah, I will admit, when I was first watching it, I was confused at first because I'm like, you know, again, we saw it in Memento. It's like, is this a timeline thing? And I'm like, well, wait a minute, how is this working now? Because now these scenes are in black and white, but they're before this, but then after that, like, couldn't get it. And then I was like, oh, okay, now it's a point of view. It's either Oppenheimer, is it Louis Strauss? Like it's one or the other, you know, black and white and color.
I will say, going back to like keeping up, because I didn't have a problem with the timeline thing. It was just the sheer breadth of like the timeline. It's like how many people are coming in.
It was hard to remember, and like the names.
I'm like can't remember the names, so I'm trying to, when they're talking about somebody in a scene, I'm like, who is that? So just the amount of people that are involved in the project made it hard for me to kind of follow along. And to Nolan's credit, I mean, he kept it going. I mean, you say it's like a conference room, it's all this stuff, and he was able to make it move so quickly. But I think it kind of lost a little bit on me when I don't know all the characters or I forget a name or two. But I think it'd be better in a second viewing. Yeah.
So I know you guys all saw it in theaters, but like, did you guys see it? Any of you guys see it in IMAX, or was it normal? Yeah. You saw it in IMAX, John?
Yeah.
How was it in IMAX? Was it worth it?
I liked it. I think I'd probably have to see it both to really make a determination. I think it's going to be one of those things where you don't know what you're missing unless you really experience it both ways. I found it hard to figure out like what theater had what, you know. So I wasn't.
It was very confusing.
It was very hard to tell. What was this actual IMAX? Is it, you know, labeled IMAX? But yeah. Is it the 70 millimeter? I think I saw the 70 millimeter one, but I'm still not 100% sure. But yeah, that I wish it was a little bit clear, and I know that's not a Christopher Nolan thing. That's a movie theater marketing thing, but
yeah.
You know.
Well, yeah, because there's I believe there's like only like 30 theaters in the country that were doing the IMAX 70 millimeters. I know there's like probably one or two in the New York City area, but yeah, I wasn't able to see it in IMAX 70 millimeters because their tickets were for weeks. Like you had to get them, when you did, and it was just I missed out on it. Looking back on it, I'm not sure if I needed to, pay the super upcharge for IMAX and 70 millimeter because again, as we've been talking about, it is. I mean, like I'd say like 80%. Like it was it's a talky drama. It's not, Mission Impossible. It's not explode. I mean, there is an explosion, but not like all. It's like it's not that.
It's just not sustained action over time. Yeah.
So I mean, I think I was fine seeing it on just a normal movie theater screen, but I'm sure Nolan is yelling at me somewhere. But hey, I didn't see it on a Game Boy. That's all we can say.
I was just thinking, I think 70 millimeters is about the size of a Game Boy Advance screen, right?
Millimeters, yeah. But all right here. So that was Oppenheimer. We still got another movie to talk about. Opened the same exact day, and that's Barbie. The number one movie these past 3 weekends, and the number 2 movie of the year so far is Barbie. This fantasy comedy, directed by Greta Gerwig and written by Gerwig and Noah Baumbach, is based on the Mattel doll and features Margot Robbie as Barbie, who goes on a journey of self-discovery following an existential crisis. All right, here we go. 3 white guys talking about Barbie.
Oh yeah.
What could go wrong? Oh boy, here we go. Well, what did you guys think of Barbie? Let's start me off, Kyle.
I loved it. I thought it was funny. I mean, I thought Ryan Gosling was great. I thought Margot Robbie was great. I mean, not every joke is gonna land, but I mean, they were able to do a lot. They were able to do a lot with it. I thought it was clever. The production design of just Barbie Land is very, very good. You definitely feel transported to that kind of vibe that they're trying to put out. I thought the production design was great. It's upbeat. Even though they do have a message to get across, it feels very upbeat the entire time. And yeah, there's a lot of great moments in it. A lot of funny moments. I loved it. I thought it was great.
Yeah, Rachel in the chat saying, I'm here for the Barbie praise. Well, you're going to get more from me. I really liked it as well. And my little description, self-discovery, existential crisis. It's like, it sounds deep, and it's like, it surprisingly is. Mm-hmm. And it was, this was the biggest question mark of the summer, when we were talking about, we talked about the trailer. What is this movie? And it's like this movie, it's based on a doll, but it's actually PG-13. But then it has topics of feminism, masculinity. It's like, it's a risky bet. Yeah. You have Greta Gerwig, Noah Baumbach, these indie filmmakers really taking a giant IP from Mattel. It's like all these things had to connect perfectly, and they somehow did. And this was a lot of fun, enjoyable, funny. I got a lot of things to talk about. And, looking at it, I was like, well, is this going to work? Because, again, PG-13, will the first weekend be big because, maybe, the families will think it's for everyone? And then after seeing the film, not only is it for everyone, I saw young girls coming out of the theater I was in, bopping, smiling. They were, excited after seeing the movie still. So, it works for all ages. John, did it work for you?
Yeah, I know. I went in kind of worried, thinking I was not the target audience, but it really does kind of have a little bit of something for everybody. So I really enjoyed it. I especially liked looking at it from a little bit more technical angle and seeing how they did some of the stuff, and the joke of pouring milk and nothing comes out, and stuff like that. It's all make believe, but it's not really for them. It's really real for them. So it was interesting to see how they handled all that, and I enjoyed it.
Yeah, I loved all those little details of like the hairbrushing, and just the way her hand moved with the giant hairbrush is like how a kid would brushing the hair, and the no water in the shower, the not having to walk downstairs because a kid would just pick up the Barbie and go to the next level. It's just there's little things like that which really add to the movie, and there's jokes for parents and adults. I mean, it's like you start off with a 2001 A Space Odyssey homage. It's like, how many 9-year-olds are going to know this? How many like 19-year-olds may even know this? I don't know. It's just like, you throw in a fake Barbie commercial about a depressed Barbie. There's so many fun little Easter eggs and jokes and just setups, and like just overall, I'm just like shocked that like Mattel
allowed for some of the jokes they did. Yeah.
And because initially, I believe Amy Schumer was involved before Margot Robbie, and before Greta Gerwig. She was going to be doing Barbie, starring, probably, writing the project as well, but left due to creative differences. And it's like, you're like, oh, maybe she was trying to push it, a certain way, and Mattel didn't like that. So then when Greta Gerwig signed on, I was like, is this going to work? Is she just like cashing in, from, just getting a paycheck? But then it's like, oh, she's doing it with Noah Baumbach. It's like, wait, what's going on here? And then, no, like, she told her story that she wanted to tell, and I think held like Mattel's feet to the fire at points. There's jokes about the all-male board, the legal woes of Ruth Handler, who's the inventor of Barbie, all the bad ideas that they've once made for dolls throughout the years. It was very Lego Movie-ish with all those little like discontinued products and stuff like that. But yeah, and PG-13. I mean, it's a movie that you would have thought this would be PG, but there's references that they talk about, I'm going to beat you off. There's lines about genitals or lack thereof. There's a bleeped off F-bomb. It's like, it goes there. But let's talk about the cast a little bit. Again, we've mentioned, Margot Robbie, Ryan Gosling, obviously, but Kate McKinnon, Issa Rae, Dua Lipa, they're different Barbies. Michael Cera as Alan, you got Helen Mirren, Will Ferrell, America Ferrera, Ryan Gosling as one of the many Kens. There's so many people in this movie. If you weren't in Oppenheimer, you were in this movie, and that's all of
pretty
Hollywood
much,
at this point. Any other standout characters or Barbies or Kens that you want to talk about, Kyle?
I really like Michael Cera's Ken, or Alan. Alan. He's funny. But yeah, no, the cast, all of them are really, really great. It's amazing. Like the same with Oppenheimer is like how much they can pack into so little. You know what I mean? It's just like little lines here. Like John Cena makes an appearance. Yeah. So it's like it's interesting. It's cool. And, Kate McKinnon as Weird Barbie, I think, is a perfect match.
Yeah, it worked out really well. And again, it's just like a thing because, it's like, why is she always in splits? It's like, but you would remember like a Barbie just like, like, in a split, just like thrown across the room and like, messy hair. Like it makes sense. And, I hate to say it, but I think Ryan Gosling like stole the show. I mean, it's tough in a movie that's Barbie to say that, but like, it's one of those things though with like when you have supporting players, they're often able to really like have fun and go like to the extreme versus like the leads who have to be a little bit more grounded and have an arc and have. Meanwhile, like he can just be like goofy. He can do like all the different over the top mannerisms as Ken. And I thought it was so funny, just like letting loose and just playing so dumb. Like,
yeah,
but
I thought he was great. I thought he played that like blank, just not even there so well. Especially when they're first discovering the world. It's just a lot of good moments there.
Yeah, and I think this film, I mean, not only with the box office success, but I think it's going to be a shoo-in for some tech Oscars. You talked about the production design is incredible. Like. Barbie Land looked so like vast and deep. I don't know how they did it. I know there was like rumors of a pink shortage because of this movie, like all the pink paint. They used so much of it with this set. But again, like it's parts of it look practical. Like it feels like lived in. It has like a very storybook look to it, like with those transitions from the Barbie land to the real world.
Yeah, that was good.
Yeah, I think there's fun little like. Special effects, like when a car would flip, there was like that little like pink like cartoon dust that was around it. Like there's little details like that really I think add to this movie. But I really enjoyed this movie. Both movies I thought were really good. So I think like you can't go wrong with either of them. Like it's good to see in this landscape two movies like doing well at the box office that are like original, creative,
and
unique.
Such
like,
polar opposites too. It's not like the same movie twice. It's completely different movies.
It's not. I mean, it's not another sequel. It's not another 15th in a franchise. It's just like this is an original, cool idea, and sure, it's based. This one's based on IP, but it went a completely different way than many people thought it was going to. And you mentioned it, John. 2 films couldn't be, more different from each other, and that's what created this Barbenheimer phenomenon. And we're going to talk a little bit about this to close out. A lot of the success, I think, for both of the films comes from this internet phenomenon. Both of them like helped each other. I think like more people saw Barbie because of Oppenheimer. More people saw Oppenheimer because of Barbie. It was like this, this symbiotic relationship between the two. Released on the same day. What was your guys' like? Did any of you guys see it? Barbenheimer in a day or weekend? Like, what was your experience seeing these films, Kyle?
So I saw Barbie first one day, and then I came back the next. No, sorry, switched it around. I saw Oppenheimer the first day, and then I went back and I saw Barbie the next day. And I mean, this was at least a week and a half, maybe 2 weeks after the opening, and people were still, dressing up in their Barbie gear. So I think it's good for movies. It's good for the theaters. And it was a cool little marketing thing. And I think it was helped because I think both of them trusted that they're both going to be quality movies that, you can market. I mean, they're willing to go out on a limb to like praise Oppenheimer. I know that Greta Gerwig and them were like saying, hey, I got my tickets to Oppenheimer. I think it's because they trust that these movies are both going to be decent.
Yeah. John, what was your release order?
I saw Barbie at 10 p.m. on a Friday and Oppenheimer, I think, at 10:30 a.m. the next day.
Oh,
so
wow.
I saw them pretty much almost back to back, a couple hours of sleep in between. I pretty much did almost see them back to back. So, and I didn't have a problem doing that. I mean, it's a lot of sitting at once, but it was worth it,
Yeah, so I did them this last Saturday. I saw both of them. Started with Oppenheimer. It was like 11:20 a.m. showing, so in the morning. And then, I had about 2 hours in between, and then the next showtime. I think it was just because of this how they were releasing them in its third week of release. But then I saw Barbie at like 5:00 that afternoon, and I definitely was like, for me, I know you kind of did it opposite, John. It was like, I gotta do not that it's like, I gotta have the vegetables first. I gotta, go through the 3-hour period drama, and then I can end with the pink, fun comedy. So like that was my kind of, because I also think like, to end with the depressing Oppenheimer, looking at the pond, like, well, I just destroyed the world. It's just like, I don't want to end on that, but, well. If you guys missed out, the listeners out there on Barbenheimer, there's possibly another double feature on the horizon. People are talking about September 29th.
Oh, God.
We also got 2 wide releases, Paw Patrol, the Mighty Movie, and Saw X. Who's ready for Saw Patrol?
Yeah, I think that they're trying to make lightning strike somewhere, or it's not gonna,
Yeah, I don't think so.
Ugh.
Yeah.
I don't think so, guys. Come on. But... It's
sorry, I'm gonna go off on a side tangent.
Yeah.
But this reminds me of Halloween, and I think there's gonna be a ton of Halloween outfits from Barbie, dude.
Oh, 100%.
When I saw the rollerblading, I was like, that's, and then the fur overcoat with
the
Ryan
double
Gosling.
Sunglasses. Yeah. There's gonna be a lot of weird Barbies, with the marker on the face and stuff like that. But yeah, it's just like, we joke about this, but man, Hollywood always like takes the wrong lessons from all of this. It's like, these films succeeded because it was lightning in a bottle. It's like, you can't recreate it. Like, like same with like the Gentle Minions last year. It's like, you can't plan for this. You can't rely on this. It's like, because while Barbenheimer is succeeding, there are so many films this summer, Indiana Jones, the Mission Impossible movie. It's like they're struggling at the box office. Meanwhile, this is doing well. It's just lightning in a bottle. It's original ideas. It's things that are just, you can't plan for it. That's not going to stop them, though, from greenlighting way too many spin-offs.
Well, yeah, I was just gonna say that you catch lightning in a bottle with this, but then they don't even get the right message from why Barbie did well in the first place. It's like this is the exact opposite of what we're asking for.
Yeah. There are 17 films from Mattel that are supposedly in development. And I'm going to read off a list of them. We actually talked about 2 or 3 of these on the podcast in the past.
Well, the Battleship came out, right? Wasn't that one of them that actually came to fruition?
I think that one has come out. I don't know if we ever talked about that, but yeah.
It did come out. I'm just, that's a Mattel product?
I believe so.
And that didn't do great, if I remember. So I'm surprised they even greenlit more.
I'm going to spoil the end of Transformers that just came out this summer, but I didn't see it, but I know that the end of it, they tried doing like a Nick Fury, like business card, like Avengers moment where they give it to somebody in there and it's like, oh, when you talk about our initiative, and it's like the G.I. Joe card. Like that's like his like business card is G.I. Joe. So it's like Transformers, this universe, whatever.
That's not how it works.
Boy.
But anyways, I'm going to run through this list here of Mattel films that are in development. Again, some we talked about, some we haven't yet, but we got Lena Dunham directing a Polly Pocket movie starring Lily Collins. Daniel Kaluuya is making an A24 type film about Barney. There's a Magic 8-Ball horror movie, a gritty Hot Wheels film from J.J. Abrams, Vin Diesel in a Rock'em Sock'em Robots movie. Mattel is also working on a Viewmaster movie with MGM. And then this one we definitely talked about on the podcast, the Uno heist comedy with Lil Yachty.
Sweet.
So what is going on? This is Mad Libs. Why isn't there a Mad Libs movie? Because this is what Mad Libs is.
Yeah.
Like,
I think I said it when we discussed it, but Mattel must be like just out of money and being like, we guys, all right, plan B, whatever IPs we can lease out, get top dollar for them, and who cares what they do? We need cash now. We need cash yesterday. Make these movies. It has to be that. It has to be that.
Like, I can maybe see like a very low budget, like Magic 8-Ball horror movie. Okay, there might be something there, but like a gritty Hot Wheels film, a Rock'em Sock'em's robot movie. Well, how can you have a movie based on the Viewmaster where you look at it and you just look at 8 images on a screen? Like, what?
Yeah.
I don't know. Like an A24 type film about Barney. What does that even mean? These are just like buzzwords that you use in a pitch.
Because it's not A24, it's A24
type. Yeah. You know that, because it's also, that's a production studio. That's not like it's a genre. It's an A24, like, I don't know. I'm going to make a Warner Brothers Discovery type movie about, it's like, that doesn't mean anything.
Is like, it like a Barney Black Mirror episode?
Yeah. Get Out or something. I don't know. But I just love how, like, literally it's like, well, we had Greta Gerwig with a Barbie movie. What if we had Lena Dunham with a Polly Pocket movie? It's just like, guys, you're learning the wrong lessons.
Yeah.
It wasn't the brand people. It was the unique story with the great cast. Like, that's what it worked. I don't know. But I'm curious if we're going to get, like, more Barbie movies, though. I mean, I'm sure they're going to bring the dump truck of money to Greta Gerwig's house and say, yes, make another Barbie movie, please. But like, will she want to? I don't know. Like, and it's just, you're gonna reboot it just like every other Warner Brothers Discovery movie, that they do with the DC franchise every 5 years.
I don't. Just leave it. Can we just have something on its own? Because the minute there's a sequel, it just feels like it waters down.
Yeah. Well, all right. That is it. That's all we have to talk about with Barbenheimer. At least for now. That's it. But next week, it's actually gonna be 2 weeks because that's what we do here. 2 weeks now this summer. We're gonna do a summer catch up. We're gonna talk about all the things that we missed this summer: the movies, the TV shows. That's gonna be on Monday, August 21st. So definitely check that one out. And then in September, while the Emmys were pushed, I do have some Emmy content possibly coming in September. Plus, we will talk about Barbenheimer again when we talk about the box office draft results. That's in September. So a lot to look forward to. You can find episodes of the podcast on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, the blog, doredundancy.com. Of course, twitch.tv/doredundancy. Mondays, 8 p.m. Eastern on Twitch. We'll be back Monday, August 21st. And you make sure you're following us on X, Instagram, and on TikTok at doredundancy. I got to thank both you guys for joining me tonight. John, directing the show, putting it up on Apple Podcasts, on YouTube, and all that stuff. I couldn't do it without you guys.
I just realized, like, all of our bumpers and stuff are now wrong. They have the wrong logo.
Here's what we're going to do, John. Let's just maybe wait a few more months, see if even X is around before we change everything to the X logo, okay?
I just feel like every 3 months something changes. Like, oh, we got to redo all the stuff.
I'm okay with waiting on this one.
Okay,
I have a feeling. I have a feeling with this one. But all right, until next time, I'm David Allen.
I'm John Gerwig.
And I'm Cobb Bridger.
And that's all we got for Do or Done See. Goodbye, everybody.